It's now time for the Lee County Yellow Jackets Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. We now take you to Keith Womack, your host for tonight's program.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Yellow Jacket Season Salute Show right here on WFJA 105.5. Lee County finished the season with a 9-4 record after losing this past week in the third round of the State 3A playoffs. I'm Keith Womack, and I'll be alongside John Hockaday tonight to discuss the Yellow Jacket season along with Lee County head coach Steve Bordeaux. Stay with us as we review the season, talk about some of the top individual performers, and we'll also hear from a few of the Yellow Jacket seniors in tonight's show. Our Yellow Jacket season salute is brought to you by some great sponsors. We've had them all year. Thanks to Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix-It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, and Brick Capital Video. We're going to take a short break and hear from some of our great sponsors. We'll be right back to talk Yellow Jacket football right after these messages.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix-It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
And welcome back once again to the 2021 Yellow Jacket Season Salute right here on WFJA Sports. And of course, as we promised, head coach Steve Bordeaux here with us. Coach, first of all, congratulations on a great season. I think Jackets finished 9-4. It's nothing, obviously something to be very proud of.
Yeah, definitely really proud of the whole team, especially this senior group that has led us and been a huge part of our success over the last 4 years.
Well, Coach, obviously last Friday night's game ended with a disappointing loss in overtime. Yep. For people who listened right here on 105.5 WFJA, then they heard it all right here live. Know that obviously we had some disappointment. I know you guys had a lot of disappointment, but just a great game. I mean, the Yellow Jackets in Jacksonville, if you look at statistically from start to finish, were fairly even, and lo and behold, it ended in a 22-22 tie, and the Yellow Jackets just not able to get on the board in overtime, and a nice pressure-packed field goal that Jacksonville kicked to win the game.
Yeah, I think that game came up to be everything it was billed to be. Max Preps and the state had us both ranked like identical rankings, and it comes down to an overtime game and a field goal that wins it. So I think hats off to the people that do those rankings. I think it shows that they might be right sometimes, but it was a heck of a game. Jacksonville did a great job. I was really proud of the way our boys continue to fight throughout. Even there were times in the game that didn't look so promising. It's like 2 minutes left and we're down. We force them to punt, get a piece of it, and then end up somehow scoring, going for two, and sending it to overtime. So I think that game kind of just shows how hard these boys work, and until that last second, and they finally made that field goal, there was no quitting in those guys.
Well, Coach, I know there's no point in the game, especially in the beginning, where you worry, but for me as a spectator, I guess the first time when I got a little anxious was on that opening drive. We go down, we have a chance to get points, and we come out empty-handed. I know you're always looking to get 7 in that red zone, but after that, Jacksonville, went down and scored the first 9 points, had the Jackets down 9-0. Jackets with a quick score or a nice score toward the end of the half to cut it to 9-7. It was close at that point. Lee County actually goes up 14-9 before Jacksonville comes back and scores 13 in the fourth. Now, one of the most impressive drives and was probably that final touchdown. Jackets down 8. Yep. You have to get the score, and more importantly, you have to get the 2. And I don't think there was no denying JoJo Jennings on that 2-point play.
Yeah, it wasn't real difficult to make that call. We had worked our way down the field, and it was a great job of some things we practice. Really, we do that a lot on a Thursday, little walkthrough of having some time, having to run plays quickly and getting on the ball. We switched formations a couple times. We had to go for it on fourth down once and switching the personnel package. And the boys and the coaches were all in tune to what had to be done. And it was a well-executed drive, not just the yards, but the things we had to do to make those yards happen.
Well, Coach, as we said, it ended in a 22-22 tie. Unfortunately for the Jackets, Jacksonville kicks the field goal. They do win the game 25-22. They're going to move on to the fourth round of the state playoffs. And, of course, the Jackets will be starting to prepare for next season. But, Coach, what a great game, and we certainly had a blast covering you guys this year.
Yeah, and I appreciate all the support from you guys and the community. The support behind these boys and that crowd is what kept us in that game momentum-wise and throughout the whole season.
Well, Coach, we have some great sponsors for Lee County High School football this year, and one of our great sponsors is our Wilkinson Chevrolet Player of the Game. Different name out there tonight, and this was picked by the coaching staff. Coach, let's go ahead and introduce our Wilkinson Chevrolet Player of the Game.
Yeah, so this week Caden Pedley was the player the coach's pick for the Player of the Game, and Caden is a guy that is our only senior on the offensive line, and really led that group. Without an offensive line, nothing on offense works. He's the guy that had to start every play, snapping the ball. That was very efficient all season, and without those great snaps, nothing else will. And the quarterbacks and running backs have no chance to make a play happen. Caden just continually getting the job done, no matter who was in front of him. They had a really good nose guard on Friday night, and he battled his butt off.
Well, Coach, also to go along with our Wilkinson Chevrolet Player of the Game, the broadcasters pick, which we formerly call the Norman Financial Group Players of the Game. We had an offensive player and a defensive player that we picked. Tyreek McKendall, our offensive player of the game.
Yeah, Tyreek was offensive player of the game, and he battled through some soreness and some bumps and some bruises throughout the last few weeks, and it was just not going to be denied to do anything he could to help the team have a chance to win, and did an outstanding job. Had a good amount of yards, and continued to be a threat even all the way down to the final couple plays where they jump off sides when he's going in motion because he's a threat.
And, Coach, our Norman Financial Group Defensive Player of the Game, this is a name we've called quite a bit this year. Just an outstanding young man, and the fun part is to have seen him progress from the time he was a lanky, tall sophomore to now a pretty muscular young man in Landon Johnson.
Yeah, I think Landon just about every week is a candidate or was the candidate for Defensive Player of the Week. And he did an outstanding job again, putting pressure on their triple option and passing game throughout. Definitely, seeing Landon from a freshman to now was a big difference in guys. He's worked his butt off, and it definitely shows what the weight room can do.
Well, Coach, again, a season full of highlights this year. We just want to kind of run through some games. Thinking about the non-conference games this year, Jackets played a tough schedule, and of course it all started with Northwood. Maybe an easier one when you look at the score, but Northwood, we know they have some good athletes up there, but Jackets go up there, get a 62-0 victory. Will Patterson was our Wilkinson Chevrolet Player of the Game, and then Will Patterson was our Norman Financial Group Offensive Player of the Game. Landon Johnson, our Defensive Player of the Game.
Yeah, that was a long game, I would say. We got broken up over 2 days, and I was really proud. We started off really well that Friday night, got lightened out, and the boys came extremely focused that Saturday morning and handled business. And I believe they ended up having one first down in the game. That was a dominant performance defensively, and obviously we had pretty good offensive day too.
And for the first game of the season, pretty
impressive.
And just for the record, I came back.
Yeah,
I was there for you. Right after that, Jackets take on a 4A school in Glen out of, I guess it's not Yadkinville, Kernersville, up in K Vegas is what we call it. And Glen, a very good football team. That game was a 41-13 loss. That game was a lot closer than that final score indicated. A great team that we played. I think a great experience for the Jackets.
Yeah, it put a lot of pressure on us that whole week. We really found out Wednesday, or actually I think it was Tuesday night when I just got to the coaches show. We found the team they were going to play. Wednesday we get film. It was a great opponent to have. I would love to have a real week of preparation to maybe tighten that game up a little bit. But the boys competed their butts off that week, as every other week. And I think playing teams like Glenn and some of the others we played throughout the season prepared us and helped us get farther in the playoffs that we would have without playing a team like Glenn.
And JoJo Jennings was our Wilkinson Chevrolet player of the game. He had an outstanding game. Also our defensive player of the game, Tyreek McKendall, our offensive player in the game. Then, of course, the Jackets travel to South Granville, affectionately known during the COVID season as the Mud Bowl. This time field in a lot better condition. They've got an excellent running back up there, but the Jackets' defense prevails. A 38-0 victory by the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, that was another great defensive performance. The offense they run can put you in a bind if you can't line up sound and be fundamental. And we were able to do that. They have a really good quarterback, athlete who he'll be back next year, and the running back was a stud.
And of course, Noah Johns was our Wilkinson Chevrolet player of the game. Eli Garrison, Ross Johnson, our Nora Financial players of the game. And then, of course, finally we go to another 4A school, another good challenge. Fuquay Varina go and play at their place, and the Jackets come away with the 26th victory, probably one of the victories I felt most comfortable about moving into the new conference season.
Yeah, I think that game against Fuquay was a battle. We were one play away from a shutout. We let up a big run. We really bottled them up for the rest of the night defensively, and they did a really good job while they were on defense of slowing us down and keeping us from having big plays. But that was a big springboard game, I felt like, to give us a little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence, showing that we can compete with some of the bigger schools.
Another outstanding game by JoJo Jennings, and then also Kenyon Palmer there as part of our players of the game. But, Coach, a great off-season or a great non-conference schedule and some great games to go play. Hopefully we'll have some more of those in the 2022 season.
Yeah, definitely so. All four of those teams made the playoffs, so I think that shows they did have great seasons as well.
Well, Coach, thanks for being here with us for a few minutes. We're going to come back with Coach Bordeaux. We're also going to come back with Mr. John Hockaday, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the conference games. But for right now, we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after these messages.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
And welcome back once again to the Yellow Jacket, or the 2021 Yellow Jacket Season Salute. I'm your host, Keith Womack, and of course we have Coach Steve Bordeaux and also the best play-by-play man in the business, John Hockaday. So we're glad to be back. Coach, we talked in the first segment, we talked about the non-conference games and the schedule, and of course playing in a brand new conference, the Sand Hills Conference, the 3A/4A conference, and it all started with Union Pines and big 42-0 victory.
Yeah, it was new conference and some I guess newer opponents more recently for Lee County, but all somewhat familiar, I guess, to me and some of our coaches. But Union Pines, that was another great defensive performance. Jace Sally will end up being the defensive player of the game that week, and he had several games throughout the year that he had really dominant, I would say, performances. But just another great game by the Jackets.
And Coach, they had a sophomore performer on that team that is a great athlete. So to shut them out 42-0 defensively, one of your better games. Tyreek McKendall, our player of the game. B.J. Brown, Jay Sally with the other accolades. So I thought some more good performances by some key players.
Great way to start the conference off.
Of course, then we take on Hoke County, which was a new opponent for us, going into the Sand Hills 3A, 4A. And I remember this game as the Mark Schlesinger game. He was awesome. two pick sixes in the
pick
game.
Sixes, yep.
And he had really his best game of the year.
Mark came in and actually threw a touchdown in that game late too. One of the plays that sticks out to me from that is Tyreek makes a tackle at like the 4-yard line. TJ picks it up and scoops and scores like a 96-yard touchdown.
Yep.
It was a really, really good game defensively, scoring wise. So that was another great game.
Of course, we moved on to Pinecrest and our first loss in the conference, and I thought that particular game, Lee County played well, 17-14 at the half, if I'm not mistaken. Got away from the Yellow Jackets a little bit in the second half, but Will Patterson had a really nice game at quarterback, I think 26 of 28, but B.J. Brown, I thought, really got his running started about that time of the season.
Yeah, I agree. That was B.J.'s probably first real big game. He had some solid games earlier on, but that was the one that kind of really started springboarding him for the rest of the season. And, we were a 17-14 game, I believe it was, and we had a field goal block going into the fourth quarter. And then they got us a little bit in the fourth.
And, Coach, when that happened, it was almost like you could see the slump in the shoulders. I mean, but it just seemed like the Yellow Jackets from that point, it really got away from them there. But I thought they were evenly matched with Pinecrest. And I think you guys did a great job and could have won that game, had a few things turn. And, of course, right after that was big Richmond County game.
Yeah,
well, Richmond County, we talked about the second half of Pinecrest not being a great half, the first half at Richmond the same way, and the second half at Richmond County, I thought Lee County played great, but again, B.J. Brown I thought was phenomenal in that game, had the kickoff return, and also put up some great numbers, and that was really the first game that we saw Mr. Adesanya come in on the defensive side and start to make a stamp.
Yeah, I think Io really popped up in the Richmond game and started making plays. If we could have put the first half together at Pinecrest and the second half together in Richmond together in those two games, I would have liked to seen the outcome. We had a couple defensive guys that went down between those two, and it ended up helping us in the long run because it helped us build some depth. It didn't look like it when it happened, but it ended up helping us.
I thought the next game, Scotland County coming to Lee County, was our game of the year.
Yeah. Big win.
Yeah. Big win, and I thought Lee County played great.
Yeah, it was an outstanding atmosphere. Scotland has a great team. They were very well coached, and we went back and forth and going all the way down to Tyreek making getting a pick six at the end. We had a guy, I think it might have been Landon. Somebody got pressure on him, the quarterback late, and that was an outstanding game without a doubt. We ended up that was the first game with our run of starting 5 sophomores, and that was one I'll definitely remember.
And, of course, we finished the regular season at Southern Lee. Aaron Wallace, a phenomenal game there. Landon Johnson, also great defensively. Yeah,
and another shutout. Anytime we can get a shutout, that's always a great thing. First year of calling some defense, that was a goal. I know the boys always love shutouts because we always get some snacks afterwards. So that's always a good thing.
They get extra snacks?
Yeah, get little shutout snacks.
Can I play defense?
Yeah.
That's perfect. Let's move on to the playoffs. West Johnson came to Lee County, 59-15, the final score there. Kenyon Palmer was absolutely awesome in that game. He was our player of the game. Offensively, Landon Johnson defensively.
Yeah.
These two guys, we've called their names a lot, but I thought they were both phenomenal in that game.
See, like those names keep popping up a little bit. I think Kenyon had 2 offensive touchdowns and a pick 6, I believe. It's part of our little run of consecutive games with a pick 6 by the boys. Was one of our best performances overall. I felt like West Johnson was a solid team, and us to really just dominate that game.
Southern Nash came in, and Southern Nash was a team that we knew was going to run the ball. We had played several opponents like Fuquay that we knew would give us some experience against Southern Nash. I thought Lee County was very good defensively in that game. Come away with a 42-24 victory.
Yeah, that game defensively, we give up 24 points, but that 24 points to Southern Nash is the stuff that they do was an outstanding performance by our defense.
If I'm not mistaken, the game, if I know I'm right, 3,000
You're always right.
3,000-yard runners for Southern Nash, and to hold them to 24 points. One of them, kids going to be playing on Saturdays next year at NC State, so very impressive victory. But, of course, then we moved to the final game, which was last Friday night, Jacksonville, and we've talked about already the 25-22 overtime loss, but any words you'd like to add?
I think, throughout the season, we saw a lot of guys develop, a lot of guys play. That's one thing I'm proud about from this group, whether it's the seniors or some of the young guys. We played so many guys. There's games where we might have 35 or 36 guys dressed in a mid-season playing against some teams that have 60, but we're playing 31 of them regularly. So I think that speaks on some of the things we do in the off season, the hard work that those boys put in the weight room and kind of prepare them for to be prepared to play.
Coach, we need to move on to the next section, and that's talking about these seniors. And we've mentioned a lot of their names when we talked about these games, but 15 of them that I counted off of this roster. And the thing that pleased me the most is once I got past number 34, I didn't see but 3 more seniors, all those linemen down there, and so a lot of returning players will be coming back. But let's talk about some of these guys that have finished their career as a Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, so starting out with 1, 2, 3, Kenyon, Tyreek, and Eli, playing receiver for us really the last 2, 3, 4 years, depending on which of those guys we talk about, making plays offensively. Kenyon and Tyreek doing it on the defensive side of the ball too. Eli catching punts, holding kicks. Those guys been all over the field for us. Landon Johnson punting the ball. That surprised everybody. One day we figured out he could do that.
Long
snap it, yeah. And obviously play pretty daggone good defensive end too. Kennedy Hernandez let us do all the things we wanted to do in the kickoff game. We wanted to pooch it, to onside it, to kick it deep, kicking field goals, making that huge field goal versus Scotland right before halftime. Will Patterson, continue to help develop the rapport with the receivers and continue to get better and better as the season went on, and just continue to lead us offensively. Aaron Wallace was a guy that really, really stepped up, I felt like, this offseason and into his senior year as a DB. I think it all kind of started with him getting a lot of confidence and being really successful on the track, and then it carried on to football. Jalen Person was another guy that was on the field in different spots for us and really worked his butt off. Same thing, Justin Thompson. Justin Thompson was the first kid when I came to Lee County that I had a chance to meet. When I went to West Lee, I remember walking around the corner meeting him. Noah Johns, called his name a couple times on the Player of the Year. Was a guy that was always going to be in the right spot, always going to do his job, and one of the hardest workers. It's tough to say because there's 15 extremely hard-working kids right here.
Yep.
Ben Ransberger, another kid, watching him on kickoff. Any chance you get, go back and watch some kickoffs and watch Ben run down that field.
He likes
reckless.
to hit.
He liked to hit, and he's very, very good at it. TJ Johnson, TJ all over the field for really the last 2.5 years. Starting as a sophomore in that big Eastern Finals game, all the way through dominating in the spring. Battling through some injuries. At one point, we didn't think he was going to get to come back, and then making it into that playoff game without him versus Southern Nash.
And got a touchdown in his last game, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that
Coach,
right?
one thing that stands out, not to interrupt you, about T.J. Johnson is I just think about how he stepped up when Larry Baldwin went down that year of the state championship run, and we didn't know a whole lot about T.J. Johnson, but we sure as heck did. After that, I think it was the third round of the playoffs 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was actually the East Finals. He had to step up when Larry got banged up. But TJ dominated that year on JV and was a capable guy playing varsity. But we were very fortunate to be able to continue to develop him on JV and let him have success. Dylan, Caden, and Harris, these guys were the 3 linemen you mentioned we had. All 3 of these guys, you could probably put on one hand and say how many days in the last 4 years that they missed a workout, missed a team event. Very dedicated guys, and that whole group's going to be extremely difficult to replace.
And how about the hair on those guys?
Yes, some of those guys had some nice hairdos, and I guess we can be envious of that.
Talking about Caden Pedley, and I wasn't in here when y'all were talking about the player of the game, but you look back at him starting at center this year and try to remember. I was trying to remember, Keith, a bad snap the entire year, and I couldn't do it. Yeah. I mean, he was so solid the entire season. What a great job.
Yeah, Caden, Mr. Consistent there. He could tell. He was the leader of our offensive line. He could tell every guy what their job was. They had a question. He could call the front. He could probably call the plays if we needed him to.
Well, certainly a great season, and like I said before, we were just so joyed to be a part of it, to be a part of Yellow Jacket football every year. But even though we didn't make it to the state finals again, this was a great season, and we certainly appreciate you to let us tag along.
Yes, sir. A special group of kids that they'll be successful. Obviously, we win a lot of football games with these guys, but I'm more proud of the success they'll have in the coming years off the field.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we're going to take a final break and come back to wrap this thing up right here on the Yellow Jacket show, where we really just kind of go through the season and enjoy what we've done. The 2021 Yellow Jacket season salute. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back right after these messages.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
And we do welcome you back to WFJA Sports. We're glad you have joined us for the Yellow Jacket season salute. We've got a couple of the Yellow Jacket seniors here with us tonight, and I'd like to welcome in Landon Johnson and Kenyon Palmer. Guys, welcome to WFJA.
Thank you.
Listen, a couple things I want to talk to you about. Over the last 4 years, moved into a new conference. This graduating class, a record of 43-7. Landon, a couple defensive touchdowns, led the team in tackles for loss, and Kenyon, 621 yards, 8 touchdowns. Let's talk about some of your favorite memories. Kenyon, you go first. Tell us some of the favorite things that you've remembered as a Yellow Jacket player.
One of my favorite things for sure, it has to be that Southern game when I first came over. I came back, I had 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, and then right after that, it had to be the Southern Nash game when I had 3 touchdowns. I had the 2 offensive and then the 1 pick six.
From 82 yards, right?
It's a long run.
That was fun to watch. That was when we were sort of thinking about the things you might talk about. That was one of the first things that I thought about. Landon, 2 defensive touchdowns. Not a lot of defensive players get to score. You did it twice this year. Which one of those was your favorite?
I'd probably say the one against Wes Johnson was my favorite. It was just completely random, and I was okay with it. I was happy with it. And he called it an interception, but I think it was a fumble.
Well, we were trying to figure out if it was an interception or fumble. I don't think it ever really hit the ground, but the ball popped out and you sort of caught it in the air. So we originally went with interception on that, but it was a great play, and it's always good for those defensive guys to score. I know you guys enjoy that. So
I did enjoy that.
This was the first class that moved into the new Sandhills 3A, 4A conference. You guys both played in the Tri-County 3A. How big was an adjustment, Kenyon?
I mean, it's better competition to keep your body right and get you to focus more on what you need to do and what you need to work on. Unlike the last season, we had kind of an easy conference. It prepares you more for playoffs.
Landon, knowing you were going into this conference, was there different expectations amongst the team? How were you guys looking at it going into the season?
Going into the beginning of the season, I think it was a bigger adjustment to preseason because we knew right away out of the gate that we were going to be playing some tough teams and it wasn't going to be till playoffs. So me personally as a senior, I knew I had to get them ready and just play hard every practice we can to get better until the time came.
Let's talk a little bit about your plans. Season's over now. What's ahead for the rest of this year and next year, Kenyon? What's ahead for you?
The rest of this year is indoor track and then outdoor track, just getting condition-wise for the next level of college football. As of right now, I'm undecided, but I'm looking at some schools.
Good.
I'm probably going to play basketball this semester and then maybe track, but I've applied to multiple colleges in North Carolina, like State and Chapel Hill, just waiting to hear back.
Being a part of the Yellow Jacket football program, and I call it the program because it is, and other than football, how has being a part of this program changed you guys? What has it done for you?
It molds you to a young man. It shows you a lot more than just football. It shows you time management, how to carry yourself.
It teaches you a lot of life attributes like participation, showing up on time, actually putting in work to get your results that you want.
Were you guys always on time?
Oh yes,
No.
I would.
I ain't gonna be honest. No. Not always.
In your opinion, what makes Lee County the quality program that it is, year in and year out?
Just the program, the players and coaches that.
I was gonna say more coaches and players. Just that type of intensity has been passed down through us each year.
Well, you guys have been around the program 2 years, 4 years, and you were around a lot of those underclassmen this year. Who do you look to that's coming back next year that is going to be a leader for this team, or several of them that could be leaders?
JoJo Jennings, I think, could be a good leader if he chooses to be.
From an offensive standpoint, I'd probably say hopefully Jeremiah can step up to the plate. He has a lot of fight in him, and for defensive, either JoJo or Ayo.
I think some more captains could be the O linemen, like Aiden Rooney, Wyatt Rickard. Those are some big guys who can lead the offense.
Well, I want to congratulate you guys on a great year this year. Being a part of this program is something you'll always remember, and certainly want to thank you for coming in here tonight, and good luck to you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with Keith and head coach Steve Bordeaux right after this.
Coaches Show sponsors: Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Fix It Plumbing, Jones Printing Company, Brick Capital Video.
And welcome back once again, folks, to our 2021 Yellow Jacket season salute. And, of course, Coach, thanks for coming in tonight. And I can't say enough times what a great time we had, and certainly, enjoyed being a part of it with you this year.
Yeah, definitely. It was great going back and thinking about some of those games. This season kind of felt like it flew by. It usually does. Not just the season. These 4 years, my 4 years here and these 4 years of these seniors has been a blur.
Well, Coach, now that we're in the off season officially for Lee County, what are the plans for the summer?
So off season for us, the first thing, we got several boys that are going to go play basketball. Some will go wrestle. Some are doing indoor track. Some of those guys already started their seasons. That all starts, us trying to get kids to play other sports. In the spring, a lot of kids will run track if they don't play baseball. Focusing around some other sports and get them a little bit of time away from, tackling and worrying about that kind of stuff. But most important thing we do in the off season, I feel like, football-wise, is lift weights. We continue to put the pressure on the kids grade-wise and make sure that they're handling business in the classroom.
And, Coach, we talked about our two young men tonight. Not only outstanding football players, but outstanding students, and probably something you're just as proud of with these boys.
Yeah. The wins are great. Everybody sees wins and might mark success on that. But to me, seeing these boys go off and reach their goals of going to college, maybe it's playing football, maybe it's just going to school, getting jobs, going into the military, being successful dudes. I'm more proud of that than winning whatever football game.
Well, Coach, I guess it's never too early.
Yeah.
A little preview for next year?
Well, first some guys got to work their butts off to replace all those guys we talked about, and there's 15 seniors. But there is a good group of young guys that got a lot of experience this year. We started 5 sophomores throughout the year: Ayo and BJ, Isaiah Peoples, Isaiah McKendall, and Prince. So that's 5 sophomores that got a lot of playing time with and then obviously several juniors. It's crazy to me that Darion, JoJo Jennings, and Mark Schlesinger, guys like that are going to be seniors.
Yeah.
And really, their senior year to me starts now. They don't get to become seniors in the classroom until next August. But they're currently they got to be the guys that become the leaders and fill in for the Landon and Kenyons.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. They've got to take those rising sophomores, juniors, and even some of the freshmen, and really show them how it's done, because there's 2 good examples of players who have developed over the years in your program and become really outstanding players.
Yeah, like I said, outstanding players, outstanding people, great leaders, and I think they have left the program. They aren't leaving the program because they'll always be a Jacket, but they have continued to raise what it means to be a Jacket.
Once a Yellow Jacket?
Yes, sir. Always the Yellow Jacket.
That's right. Any final thoughts, Coach, on the 2021 season before we close this show out?
I think it was ultimately a successful season. We continue another year of, I had to figure out what the number is, but we haven't lost to a 3A conference team in, I believe it's 5 seasons now. So keep that streak alive. We didn't lose a regular season game to a 3A team. So a lot of those streaks and a lot of those things that people keep up with to mark success are there. But just proud of this group of guys, how hard they work, how much fun they have together, how much they compete on the field, and look forward to seeing what's next for them.
Well, Coach, thank you. Thank your staff for all the hospitality this year, and, of course, Athletic Director Coach Reggie Peace, also Steve Womack, Hall of Famer. There's so many guys that we appreciate every day we go over there, so make sure you tell them thank you from John and myself and all of us here at WFJA 105.5.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, and I definitely can't go without saying thank you to the coaching staff. All the adversity we went through, really played 2 seasons in 1 year, having some staff turnover late and guys stepping up and just really not looking back and just doing what had to be done for the best of the kids.
Well, thanks, Coach.
Yes,
We'd
sir.
like to thank all of you for joining us tonight and all season long as we have brought you Yellow Jacket football right here on 105.5 WFJA. We thank our special guest, student athletes Landon Johnson and Kenyon Palmer, as well as Lee County head coach Steve Bordeaux. Tonight's show will be available by podcast tomorrow on the WFJA website and the WFJA Facebook page. We'd like to thank our special sponsors for tonight's show, and of course, it is Wilkinson Chevrolet, Domino's, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Tracy Carter, Jones Printing Company, Fix It Plumbing, and of course our great friends at Brick Capital Video. And we thank you for listening to WFJA Sports. Join us in December as we begin our 19th season of Sanford area basketball on WFJA Sports and our 60th season of bringing you local high school sports. Again, we thank you for joining us tonight. Season salute for the Yellow Jackets. Good night, everyone.
You've been listening to the Lee County Yellow Jackets Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux and show host Keith Womack. On behalf of all the Coaches Show sponsors, we thank you for listening to tonight's program. This has been a production of WFJA and WWGP Sports.